Welcome to Silent Secrets. In today's video, we're going to uncover one of the most misunderstood emotional reactions in modern relationships. What truly happens inside a woman's mind when a man gives her space, goes silent, or begins to pull away. This topic isn't about manipulation. It's not about playing games. It's about understanding human emotion, attraction, and psychology at a deeper level. The invisible shift that happens when presence turns into absence, and attention turns into distance. Let me say something up front that might make some people uncomfortable. Silence speaks louder than words. And when you learn to use silence with discipline, not ego, it becomes one of the most powerful forces of attraction and respect a man can ever master. So sit back. Stay with me till the end, because by the time we're done, you'll understand what she actually feels when you stop chasing, when you stop explaining, and when you start focusing on yourself. Let's begin. Part 1. The moment you step back. When a man first pulls away, whether intentionally or naturally, the first thing that happens in a woman's mind isn't anger, it's confusion. She's used to a certain rhythm. Maybe you texted every day, called often, checked in frequently. That pattern becomes a source of security for her. So when you suddenly stop responding right away, or decide to focus on your own life for a while, her emotional radar lights up. At first, she tells herself it's nothing. He's probably busy. But as hours turn into days, a quiet uncertainty starts to grow inside her. She begins to notice your absence. And here's where psychology comes in. The human brain is wired to focus on what's missing. When you're silent, her mind automatically begins to replay every detail of your connection. Your tone, your words, your attention. This is where curiosity starts to turn into emotional tension. She starts to think, did something change? Is he losing interest? Did I do something wrong? Even if she doesn't say it out loud, those questions echo inside her thoughts. And that's the first stage, the awareness of absence. Part 2. The emotional ripple effect as time passes. That awareness turns into an emotional ripple. You see, women are emotionally perceptive by nature. They sense shifts in energy faster than they admit. When your attention fades, it doesn't just go unnoticed. It creates a subtle imbalance. And here's the truth. When you were constantly present, she knew where to find you emotionally. You were predictable, reliable, and available. That reliability might have once made her feel secure. But over time, it can also make her feel complacent. When you step back, that comfort is disrupted. Suddenly, the emotional safety net she had starts to feel unstable. Her brain begins to fill the silence with questions, assumptions, and curiosity. She starts wondering, what's he doing? Why isn't he texting like before? Did I say something wrong? That curiosity quickly turns into reflection. She starts replaying conversations in her mind, analyzing moments that never bothered her before. What she's actually feeling is not anger. It's the discomfort of uncertainty. And uncertainty is one of the most powerful emotional triggers in human psychology. When someone who used to be predictable suddenly becomes distant, the mind automatically tries to bridge that gap. She starts thinking about you more, not less. She starts missing the small things you used to do, not because of need, but because those actions created emotional familiarity. Part 3. The shift from comfort to curiosity. Here's where things take an interesting turn. At first, she may appear indifferent. She might even act like she doesn't care. But underneath that calm exterior, her thoughts are racing. The female mind naturally associates attention with affection. So when attention fades, it subconsciously feels like affection is being withdrawn too. And now, she starts to crave reassurance. But instead of reaching out right away, many women will wait, to test, to observe, to see how long your silence lasts. This waiting period is where attraction can actually rebuild itself, because space creates a form of mystery that comfort never could. When a man is always available, His presence becomes ordinary. But when that same man becomes less accessible, when he invests his time in his purpose, his discipline and his growth, he transforms from predictable to intriguing. That intrigue is magnetic. It quietly pulls her attention back toward you without a single word being said. Part 4. The power of emotional mirror. Here's a hidden truth most men overlook. When you give a woman space, you're not just creating distance. You're giving her a mirror. That mirror reflects her own emotions back to her. She starts noticing how often she checks her phone, how many times she reopens your chat, how much she thinks about you even when she tells herself she doesn't care. This stage is powerful because it forces her to feel the weight of your absence. And that feeling? That's what most men never let her experience, because they're too busy chasing, texting, or over-explaining. But when you allow space, when you resist the urge to chase, she experiences something rare in today's world: emotional contrast. Contrast between what it felt like when you were always there and what it feels like now that you're not. That contrast is where attraction quietly rebuilds itself. It's where she begins to revalue your attention, your time, and your energy. You didn't have to manipulate. You didn't have to play games. You simply stepped back. And in doing so, you shifted the emotional balance. Part 5. The inner conflict as the silence continues. Something deeper begins to unfold inside her, an internal conflict. Part of her wants to reach out. Another part resists, afraid of looking too eager or vulnerable. This battle between pride and emotion creates tension, and that tension keeps you in her thoughts. You see, the mind doesn't like open loops. When there's a lack of closure or certainty, the brain keeps revisiting the situation, trying to solve it. That's why your silence becomes louder with time. It's not about ignoring her. It's about letting her feel the consequence of your absence. And what she feels isn't rejection. It's reflection. She starts to realize how much emotional energy she used to receive from you, and how quiet life feels without it. That emptiness, that pause, is what makes her reassess. She starts asking herself questions like, was I too distant? Did I take him for granted? Did I make him feel unwanted? Those thoughts slowly chip away at her ego, opening space for vulnerability to return. Part 6. Why giving space works now. Let's get to the psychological core of why giving space, or ignoring in a healthy, self-respecting way, actually works. Humans naturally value scarcity. We're drawn to what feels rare, uncertain, or just out of reach. When something or someone becomes too predictable, our emotional excitement fades. By giving space, you're not creating emotional distance. You're restoring emotional balance. You're reminding her that your attention is valuable, that your energy isn't an unlimited resource, and that realization can shift everything. When you step back, she gets a chance to miss you. Missing someone is a powerful emotional trigger. It awakens affection, nostalgia, and appreciation. She begins to remember your laughter, your presence, your energy, not because you reminded her, but because you stopped reminding her. Part 7. The misinterpretation of silence. Of course, not every woman will handle this the same way. Some will misinterpret your silence. At first, she might think you've moved on. She might even try to act unaffected, posting more, smiling more, showing the world she's fine. But often, that's just a reaction to the confusion your silence created. Externally, she may appear composed. Internally, she's questioning everything. Silence doesn't just remove your presence, it removes her sense of certainty. And in the emotional world, certainty is comfort. When you remove comfort, you activate curiosity. When you activate curiosity, you create emotional pull. But here's the important part. Your silence only works if it's authentic. If you're pretending to ignore her while secretly waiting for a response, she'll feel that energy. Silence must come from confidence, not from fear. when you genuinely detach, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. She can sense that difference, and that's what makes it powerful. Part 8. Her emotional timeline. Let's break down what usually happens emotionally over time when you give a woman space. Confusion. She wonders why your behavior changed. Curiosity. She starts observing you from a distance. Reflection. She begins to think about her own behavior and the connection you had. Longing. She starts missing your presence more than she expected. Realization. She recognizes that your absence has meaning, that it reflects your value, not rejection. Each stage deepens her emotional awareness of you. And what's fascinating is that you didn't do anything except choose silence and self-control. That's why emotional detachment, when done with maturity, is magnetic. Part 9. What she actually feels now. Let's talk about the emotion she truly feels. Beneath the surface, when you give her space, she may feel uncertainty. She doesn't know where she stands anymore. Curiosity. She wants to know what you're thinking. Fear of loss. She starts to realize she could lose something valuable. Admiration. She notices your discipline and composure. Respect. Because you didn't beg, plead, or chase. These are not manipulative outcomes. They're natural human responses to emotional recalibration. Silence reminds her that affection is not a given. It must be reciprocated, respected, and valued. And when she realizes that, her perspective shifts. What once felt like comfort now feels like loss. What once seemed ordinary now feels rare. Part 10. The shift in attraction. Attraction is not built on constant contact. It's built on emotional polarity. The push and pull, the mystery, the space between two people that creates desire. When you give her space, you reintroduce that polarity. You bring back the sense of challenge, the energy of uncertainty that naturally fuels attraction. And ironically, when you stop chasing her, she begins to chase the connection. This doesn't mean she'll always return, but it means if she does, it will be out of genuine emotion, not obligation. That's the difference between being wanted and being needed. Part 11. Your growth during the silence. Now, while all this is happening in her mind, something equally important should be happening in yours. Growth. Giving her space isn't about waiting around or checking your phone every hour. It's about turning your focus inward. You start rediscovering who you are without her validation. You start working on your health, your goals, your discipline, your craft. That energy shift, from obsession to evolution, changes everything about your presence. And even if she doesn't say it, she'll feel it. People can sense when your energy shifts from seeking to mastering. That shift radiates confidence, peace, and purpose. And that's the most attractive version of any man. Part 12. When she reaches out at some point, if your connection was genuine, she'll reach out. Maybe it's a casual message. Maybe it's something subtle. But when she does, don't rush. Stay calm. Stay grounded. Remember, silence was never about punishment. It was about perspective. And now that she's reaching out, the goal isn't to prove a point. It's to reconnect from a position of strength and clarity. If she truly values you, your composure will reignite her respect. If she doesn't, you'll know, and you'll walk away with your dignity intact. Either way, you win. Part 13. When silence becomes strength. Let's make something clear. Silence isn't coldness. It's control. It's the art of knowing when to speak and when to step back. Most men fear silence because they equate it with rejection. But in reality, silence is where your power lives. It's in those quiet moments that you discover who truly values your presence and who only valued your attention. When you master the art of giving space, you stop reacting to emotion and start responding with wisdom. You become the calm in the storm, the grounded one in a world full of noise. That energy is magnetic. It's masculine. It's timeless. Part 14. The unspoken respect eventually, whether she admits it or not. She feels something new toward you. Respect. Because while other men chased, explained, or begged for attention, you stayed composed. You gave her room to feel, think, and come to her own realization. And in doing so, you communicated something far more powerful than words ever could, that your value isn't tied to anyone's attention, that your peace is not negotiable. That's when she truly sees you, not as an option, but as a man who leads his own life. Part 15. Final truth. What she feels at the end. Here's the truth that ties it all together. When you give her space and stop chasing, she feels the void of your presence. She starts to reflect on what she lost. She begins to respect what she once took for granted. She starts to see the difference between your calm strength and everyone else's noise. You didn't win her through persuasion. You reminded her through absence. And even if she doesn't come back, you win something far greater: clarity, peace, and self-respect. Part 16. The takeaway. So remember this. Silence isn't about ignoring her. It's about valuing yourself enough to step back when energy isn't being reciprocated. It's about realizing that love isn't proven through constant availability. It's earned through mutual respect. When you master this, you no longer chase validation. You attract admiration. You no longer beg for attention. You command respect. And that, my friend, is what truly changes everything. If this message resonated with you, don't just listen, reflect. Think about where you've been overextending your energy. Think about how often you've tried to fill silence with effort. Now it's time to reverse it. Let silence do the talking. Let space do the work. Because sometimes the loudest statement you can make is to simply say nothing at all. You'll be surprised what happens when you stop chasing and start leading. This is Silent Secrets, where silence becomes your superpower and self-mastery becomes your message. Until next time, stay strong, stay grounded, and remember, your presence is valuable, but your absence is unforgettable.